Hi, this is Adam Simmons from Project Geospatial, and this is Season 3, Episode 2. This is probably the third time I've attempted this tonight with some technical difficulties, but we're going to talk about Google Sheets and Google FusionTables and how to scrape data using some of the tools that Google has, not in a developer fashion, but more as a user, non-development developer methodologies here. So keeping it really simple, there's 1,000 ways to scrape data, and this is just a very simple ones using the tools that exist right in front of you, and showcasing some of the power of Sheets and FusionTables, maybe to inspire you to do something a lot better than what I put together. So let's start by screen sharing what I've got. To start off with, I am going to go to research.google.com /tables. And to give you an idea of what that looks like, this is a real handy method to find web tables very quick. You can also look in FusionTables and find existing already pre-formatted tables in there too. But let's start by giving an example. So let's say, and the reason I'm doing this, this is a quick way to map a data really quickly. That's why I like FusionTables. FusionTables can be used about a lot, but I like using it for mapping lots of data. I'll talk about a little bit more about FusionTables as we get into it. So let's start by finding a topic, and I've done this many times before. So let's a topic that let's do Chinese air bases. All right, so there's tons of listing here. Notice that some of these are just the general web scraping of web tables. Some of these come from military sites, not military, let's say airpower.net. So it's like, not say military, formal military, but more of hobbyist and enthusiast websites that list a lot of these things. Here's one that I like. One, because it has a list of air bases and it has a list of coordinates, which is exactly what we're looking for. So let's export this data to Google Spreadsheets. And the reason why we're starting with Google Spreadsheets is because Google FusionTables, just like other databases that maybe you're familiar with, even like Microsoft Access, it's kind of cumbersome to, at least right on the front end. It doesn't let you edit in bulk once you already have the data in the system. What it means is you can edit the data row by row or field by field, but you can't necessarily edit in bulk. Oh, looks like we have a error when I tried exporting this. That's okay. You know what? Like I said, I've already messed with this data before. Got a backup plan. I've already imported it into Google Sheets for you all. So let's do that. Let's take a look at that. So let me show you a quick difference between the data though, to kind of see what I changed, because this is more of a finished Google Sheets. I've already kind of cleaned this up a bit. If you notice back here, it's the coordinate column is in it's in degrees, minutes, seconds, but I'm importing it from Wikipedia. So this is actually going to come out in two different formats. It's going to have a degrees, minutes, seconds, and decimal degrees all in the same column. So what I ended up doing was actually I extracted the decimal degrees out of there and broke it up into two columns, making it easier to read. Ideally, I would go back to after I've cleaned this data up, and I like using Google Sheets also, not just as a staging ground for FusionTables, but also kind of a storage for continuously editing the data or adding to it, even if I want to make new tables in the future. So kind of keep that in mind. I'm not going to just get rid of the tables even after I import into FusionTables. So from here on out, I can actually go back to, and let's create a Fusion table, see if I can import what I've just created into it. So I'm going to go click on Spreadsheets. Okay, we got an error 500. So this sometimes happens, sometimes not. I have no idea what this error is. You can go through the help forums and find out. But what this means is FusionTables just didn't take the direct import from Google Spreadsheets. But there is another way to do this. So what I can do is actually directly download the spreadsheet as a CSV file. And then I can actually import the spreadsheet. As soon as I figure out where I put it, because no one remembers where they throw their imported items, right? Looks like it. All right, I found it. Let's. So I'm importing that same CSV file in. All right, so it took this time. It recognized the latitude and longitude. This is where I usually do this. Put attribution data in. Tell people where you got. Especially if it's important to give credit to where the source is, and obviously, it is also good for your records too if you want to go back and see if there's any updates to the data. But I'm not going to, for the sake of example, I'm not going to do that. I'll just say Wikipedia for now, and keep the title the same. Well, I could just say PLA Air Bases. By the way, PLA stands for People's Liberation Army. See, which is the Chinese military. Finish that. And after that, it should be done importing. Now, it should have recognized the mapping data right away. Let's see if it did that, because I already had all the columns labels latitude and longitude. Did it? Come on, work for me today. Well, it recognized a point. Man, this thing is struggling today. So every time I import something in, it's just a ton of bugs. Notice that there's nothing on the map besides that one. I can look around the world, sandy check it, make sure nothing else is. Sometimes don't ask me why, but sometimes FusionTables really messes this up. But it looks like we're struggling with. Looks like FusionTables is struggling tonight. So what I'm going to do is show you some examples of the tables that have successfully imported. I've actually imported these same data sets I'm showing you now successfully. And so I don't understand why they're not working tonight. But let's go back to my public geo and show you an example of what I have in my folder. Like I said, I've imported tons of stuff. This is just a small example. Let's do, here we go. Here's the People's Liberation Army air bases in FusionTables. So in here, actually, this is a good example too. I remember I said that it comes out in latitude and longitude or Wikipedia. Well, usually I keep the latitude columns in here. Sorry, the degrees, minutes, seconds, and decimal degrees. Usually I keep the degrees, minutes, seconds in case I want to use it later with some other program, or somebody wants to use it for some other program. But usually I just use the decimal degrees because most programs, it's like the universal format that everybody takes. So let's click on the map. You can see what it's supposed to look like. Yep, this is what it's supposed to look like. This works. And once again, this is but this data comes from globalsecurity.org. That's a semi-free site. You can actually go to the site for a couple articles free a month, and get information. But after if you want to look at the website more than a few articles, you have to pay a subscription. Okay, well, there's the People's Liberation Army Air Force bases, but and that's how you import from Google. So you go scrape the data from the web using the research.google.com website, and once again, after you do that, import into Google Sheets, clean up the data, then use Google FusionTables to import that data to visualize in the map. FusionTables takes up to 500,000 rows, so keep that in mind. A lot of applications such as Mapbox don't restrict you necessarily on how much, to the quantity of the rows, more so how much space it takes up. So the free account, I think, for Mapbox is what, 50 megs. Google Drive, you don't have a limit, but you do have that 500,000 row limit, which, you know, you got to be importing some pretty heavy data sets to get over that. And I have imported a few. Let's that kind of touched the extent of that limit. So let's look at one of mine that I have. So world, what is a huge data set that I have? Volcano eruptions is big, but world earthquakes is a big one too. And I get this one from the United States Geospatial. I'm sorry, I'm blanking tonight. The USGS, and shows how tired I am. I can't even remember the acronym, what that stands for. Let's go to maps. And this is, I want to say, do I have a description in here? Earthquake data from 1973 to 2011. This table has combined latitude and longitude geocolumn. So this is what that actually means is I actually smashed the latitude and longitude in one column. Although usually I like preferring separating them into two. But you can see how many rows does this have? Let's go back to in the table format. This has 572,000 rows. Well, that's fascinating. Once again, I said the limit's typically 500,000, so I'm really surprised that I was able to pull in that much when I imported this data set initially. So once again, the power of FusionTables. You can display this information as a heat map as well. And I clicked it, so it's going to take a second to visualize it all. Keep in mind that the version of FusionTables you're looking at right now, some of the tables I still have left in the classic view. You can actually look at the new look and feel, which has been out for, I guess, over a year now. It's nice, but it's missing some of the simplicity and usability from the old interface that I like to use with some of the older with the tables. There we go. So you can do a heat map. It's actually not a great heat map visualizer because the farther down you zoom in, actually it looks like it's gotten a lot better in the past. But the more data, the better with the heat map. Actually, I wish I can kind of scale and adjust the settings for that. This way, if I don't have very much data, let's say 200 points scattered in the area, I can kind of scale the density to reflect a lower amount of points I have in the data. But with a data set this size, it's not really a huge problem. So you can clearly see the ring of fire with the world earthquakes here. So a little nice example of the FusionTables capability. I should, let's see, do I have a KML I can use to test out and show you guys what so KML is really fascinating with FusionTables because it not only allows you to import point data, but FusionTables imports geometries as well. So let's see if I can find one of those to show you. I have one for administrative boundaries. And let's bring that up. FusionTables boundaries. All right. So what I'm going to show you here is Ukrainian. So let's make it clear. So I actually imported the shape file from a source first. So this is an example of a KML file necessarily, but I do have those. This is actually an example of a geometry from shape files. So this information was doesn't say where I got the information from. There's a public.org site you can get for all the world boundaries, whether it's accurate or not. I'm not sure. It's pretty extensive though. It goes down to, I'd say, 6 levels of admin boundaries for every country. And you can see here what it looks like after I've imported the shapefile. The geometry in the shapefile itself, it actually converts. So if you're looking for a way to convert a shapefile into a KML, might be a solution for you too. Now I had to convert the shapefile to FusionTables using a tool called Shape Escape, and this is what Shape Escape is a specific tool that I think a Google developer wrote up on the 20% time. So you can do shape to FusionTables and shape to GeoJSON and TopoJSON. So that's one. So this is a very handy tool for importing shape files into Google Drive. They make them usable and be able to view them on the map. So you can see though that you can take the geometry from a KML file too, because even though it's a shape file, it looks exactly the same whether it be KML geometry or shape file once it's already in FusionTables. Not a difficult thing. Very awesome capability, once again. The other interesting thing about FusionTables, I'll say, is you can aggregate data too. What it means is you can combine two tables together. And I will show you a quick example of that. All right, hold on. I find out where did I put it. So I actually have, I messed around with FusionTables when it first came out, but one of the first things I did was actually so I grabbed all the locations of, let's say, Chick-fil-A around the entire nation, and all I had was their addresses. And the other thing I had in a separate table was I had state boundaries, United States state boundaries. So I wanted to combine the two together. And what FusionTables allowed me to do is combine these two, where I could add the geometry from the states. And it matched the columns in which the by the state names. So the state names to the geometry names. So as long as the Chick-fil-A, the addresses actually had the state name in them, and they all did, it'll actually merge the geometries for the state boundaries. That allows me to do a couple things. So it allows me to not only visualize all the Chick-fil-A's, all the state boundaries that have Chick-fil-A's in them, but you can do density plots, which means that I can actually create a map and aggregate the count of Chick-fil-A's in that state to create a density map like this, like you see right here. And also apply unique filters for the counts themselves to get, let's say I want to look for the top 10 states that have Chick-fil-A's in them, right? So I can do, let's say 100 to 250. There we go. Well, I guess I got the top 3, right? Texas, top 4. Texas, Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. Here's your top 4 states. And of course, you can click on them to get a more precise idea of who's the top Chick-fil-A state. And actually, that looks like it's Texas. Of course, Texas. Even though Georgia's the home of Chick-fil-A. Anyway, that's a very powerful tool. I hope you all like the video. Please comment on any suggestions you have, especially for data editing. If you have easier ways to mess with FusionTables and Google Sheets, easier ways. I can tell you what's needed with all the manipulation I do in Google Sheets. It'd be nice to have a lot better geospatial tools for scraping, filtering out, and cleaning up coordinate data within Sheets before I even do anything with FusionTables or any other application. Sheets is a very powerful tool and allows you to use scripts on top of it, and it's web-based, so it can be dynamic with online data, unlike Microsoft Excel, which takes a lot more work to do that type of thing. You can use scripts with Excel, you can use macros, but with Google Sheets integration to the internet, being cloud-based, it's a very powerful tool. So hope you all liked the episode. Once again, if you have any feedback, if you have suggestions, tools, let us know. Thanks.